Today was one of those gut punch kind of days. Charlie Watts passes away at the age of 80. The drummer for the Rolling Stones. Now, you knew Charlie Watts wasn't doing well when the Stones, who were about to go on tour, I was looking at going to see them again in Vegas. They're going to be there in a couple of weeks. I know they're coming to Austin, but he wasn't going on tour because he was ill. I saw the Rolling Stones in Denver in 2019, and I was amazed at the energy that they still have. But even watching Charlie Watts, he goes at the right pace, but, he's never had the big drum kit. He's never been like a Travis Barker or a Tommy Lee, one of those kind of guys, the dude from Rush, Neil Peart. I mean, he's not one of those guys, right? But he's just a legend. I mean, Charlie Watts was just a legend at 80 years old. And who would have thought he would be the first of the Rolling Stones to go? I mean, how Keith Richards is still alive is beyond me. I told you we'd have story time with Jerry. Here's a little story time with Minnix. In 1994, I'm young in my radio career, working over at KZEP 104 when it was a good classic rock station. And their studios were down off of Broadway and 9th, basically underneath that bridge downtown. And I'm doing overnights. My shift started at midnight. And the Rolling Stones were playing the Alamo Dome. And Keith Richards was supposed to come by the KZEP studios and do an interview with CJ Cruz. And I know I've told this story before on the air, but it's just fun to talk about on a day like this. So Keith Richards was supposed to do an interview with CJ Cruz at, 7, 8 o'clock at night, the night before. And he never showed up. About 3 o'clock in the morning, a limousine pulls into the KZEP parking lot. Now, back then, in the early 90s, and again, it's not the best part of town where the studio was. There were cameras on the front door and on the parking lot because we used to get a lot of homeless and whatnot that would come in there into the parking lot. So there was cameras out there, so I could see the limo pull in, and 5, 6 young ladies got out of the limo, and then was Keith Richards. And I'm young. I mean, like young in the business and in life. I mean, I think 94, I was like 21, 22 maybe. And so I called Chris Winston, who's the program director, and said, "Hey, Keith Richards is here. What do I do?" And he said, "Interview him." It's 3 a.m. This guy was so messed up, he could barely talk. Get him in studio, and this was before cell phones and all that kind of stuff. So at somewhere I've got a cassette tape of the interview. He could barely stand. He'd been having a hell of a night in San Antonio. Microphone goes on, we do the interview, and man, that guy lights up and was incredible. And I asked him the most basic of questions without wetting my pants. I mean, because it's Keith Richards. It was the first celebrity interview I'd ever done. Completely unprepared, unplanned, 3 a.m. Microphones goes off, and he's back to barely being coherent, and they carry him out. Well, the next night at the concert, my job there, because, we didn't have social media, is we had somebody that would go to the shows, and we would write down the songs in the order they play them, and then you'd go find a phone or a pay phone, and you would call back to the studio and tell the DJ that was working, in this case it was Alan Davila, what the songs were in order, so as people are leaving the concert, you're playing the set list over. Because, we weren't smart enough then to just go write down the set list, or if they even had them or whatever. I mean, that's how it was done back in the day. Well, I remember, so that was my job, and I had the girl that I was dating at the time, whatever her name was. So we're backstage writing down the songs. But before the show, we see that here comes the Rolling Stones as they get ready to go on the show. I see Keith Richards. "Hey, Keith, what's going on?" Guy acted like he'd never seen me in his life. He does not remember being on my radio show 12 hours earlier. It was one of those great moments that was also embarrassing because he had no idea. None whatsoever. Fun times. But that was, and I actually never did meet Charlie Watts. Never got to shake his hand or Mick for that matter. But, the one time I got to interview Keith Richards, but again, first celebrity interview, that's the kind of stuff you remember forever. And he forgot before he actually left the building that he had done that interview. But Charlie Watts dead at the age of 80 and somehow is the first of the Rolling Stones to go. How Keith Richards is still around, how Mick Jagger is still around is beyond me. But it was one of those gut punch kind of moments when you think about celebrities and the musicians that you grew up with gone at the age of 80. I'm curious what that will do to their upcoming tour, knowing that they were already going to go on the road without Charlie Watts. Like, the band was moving on, and clearly they knew Charlie wasn't healthy enough to tour. I wonder if they knew how dire his medical situation was, and the fact that he probably wouldn't make it through the tour, whether he was on that tour or not. Interesting stuff. Sad news. R.I.P. Charlie Watts, a legend.